Jedi, I know you looked at my body and thought, is he wearing 6 breastplates specifically for a gag? No. No, I'm not, Brenda. Andrew. And this is Gayties Toys. On today's MIA 80s Ladies, we're doing a weird reversal where we're talking about a major franchise, but a very minor character, whereas usually it's quite the opposite. Specifically Star Wars, and this is probably, unsurprising to many of you that not many women not named Princess Leia were made. However, there's a few points I'd like to make. First off, there were technically 2 women in the original Kenner Star Wars line, specifically from Return of the Jedi. The first, of course, was Cy Snoodles, the lead singer of the band, and second was EB99, who was a torture droid, who identifies as she, her. Educate yourself. Second, there were a number of women in Star Wars. A few had speaking roles, many did not. But there is, enough there to talk about in this series. And I'm going to do a separate video on those women, most of whom have had action figures since. So we'll get to that. For today, however, is the third point, and that is there was one woman who was prototyped and on the block for release, but never came out, hence MIA 80s Lady. And her name is Yarna Gargan. We're going to call her Yarna. Yarna hails from Jabba's palace, specifically the scenes around Ula's untimely demise during the musical number with Max Rebo Band. She was seen sort of dancing around the periphery, and while she was clearly in Jabba's employ of some variety, she didn't meet the same fate that Ula did. On that note, this scene, it's dark. Between what's implied with Ula and then Princess Leia later on, our subconscious always knew. When we were children, even now, we don't like to think about it too hard or too long without, coming to some pretty dark conclusions. So, Yarna, I don't really know her origin that well, but she was just vibing. She was just shaking her coconuts. She was just finding love in a hopeless place. So, more of that joy than the slave trade. As mentioned, Yarna was planned to be released in the Power of the Force line, which came right after Return of the Jedi, as Kenner was still trying to milk that cow. She was amidst, a lot of Jabba's palace denizens that came out around those 2 waves. Kenner really shit the bed during the Star Wars movie originally when they were just rushing product out to the market, and they really didn't capitalize on all the Cantina aliens and all the juicy, cool figures we could have gotten that way. Empire came along. Serious lack of aliens in that movie. So when they saw the script for Return of the Jedi and they saw that Jabba's Palace was Cantina 2.0, they went hard. And you can sort of see their thought process with Yarna specifically. Leia and Ula might not have flown, but Gargan still within that monster mash kind of territory. With that taste level in mind, you would have thought during the production of this figure that while they were sculpting and painting 6 individual boobs on an action figure, they might have thought, let's pump the brakes here. But in fact, it was actually Lucasfilm specifically who, kind of came in and said, no, you're not putting that out to market. You're not putting that into the toy stores. Moms are not going to be buying that for their daughters and sons. So she was one of the very precious few characters they didn't make when they were putting through, prototypes. A lot of stuff just came out. They had no qualms doing literally anything. But there's, her, maybe another droid, a couple other concept pieces for Beyond Return of the Jedi, but most everything Kenner made, they put out, but she did not. Between Power of the Force 2 in the 90s straight through today, pretty much every single character has been made, including Yarna. In 2008, she was created as pretty much her only figure so far in the Legacy collection. This is not surprising, as the sort of current batch of figures, especially for Black Series, tends to ignore original trilogy characters, specifically women. We've had a lot of, more of the newer Disney batch of women, but precious few of the actual original trilogy. This might just come down to taste as well. I mean, we were prudish then, we're still prudish now, and I can't imagine Disney or Lucasfilm or toy stores, as, few and far between as they are eager to have 6 boobed sex slaves, in their toy aisle. So this isn't surprising, but it's still unfortunate because, there are very precious few women in Star Wars, and she's She's a memorable one. Coconut Snow. Also, Hasbro has been going pretty hard with the retro collection, which is, re-releases of the old Kenner action figures, plus a new favorite, new old figures, as well as their newer properties, such as the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, that kind of thing. They've released, again, a few figures for new characters, one of whom we'll talk about again. But these are very few and far between, usually, packed in with a bunch of other re-releases. So it's difficult to see Hasbro making too many more of these. And especially when it comes to someone like Gargan, there's no way that's going to happen. That said, the maker movement, the fans, they've been doing some of the best work out there. So if you are interested in a more vintage Kennery style, I would recommend Funky McClunky. He's an incredible 3D modeler. I'll put his links down to his, Etsy page below, and I would recommend that as, a good stand-in. And that's it for Yarna. We'll come back for more MIA Star Wars ladies, but in the meantime, give the big girl some shots. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time on Gayties Toys.